So let's talk a little bit, from a perspective of an entrepreneur, right? So you said earlier, you started in treasury and then you expanded to lending and co-lending stack.
Mm.
It's still a very young company, right? And if you think about it, generally, as investors, we look for laser focus in a company and solving one problem really, really well. And of course, you have the customers, enterprise grade customers, who are already using both products. So, what are some of first of all, is there a lot of commonality and synergy in the product itself? And of course, the customers are kind of in the same customers. What are some of the benefits and challenges of building two products early in the life of the company?
Yeah, I think we also come across this question, but what we realized that we saw for ourselves as a natural progression to what we were building. From day one, the idea was to build a bank infra, and bank infra is not 10% of the assets or the 30% of the asset. And while we are talking about building the infrastructure layer on top of the core banking layer, so then all of those things matter. So from a strategy perspective, a vision perspective, we still the same. Yes, there would be the challenges, and I think, and that's why we did step by step. We didn't try to do too many things at the same time. And the treasury business is something which is not well established. We have kind of able to partner with some of the biggest brands globally, right? So where we have partnered with them, where we are able to replace actually some of the multi-billion-dollar companies in terms of their products. So there is a kind of a solid traction which has been established on the treasury side of it. It's a kind of a stable business, and the team is also very high quality, which we see that we have the confidence they are basically able to run the things in more or less autopilot mode. While obviously we have a larger focus into the co-lending, at least for the near term, because here it's more of a land grab strategy where we are trying to move very fast and cover the ground. In terms of how we evolved into a lending and co-lending space, is pretty much while in the treasury also we were building those credit risk models. We were anyways helping the banks in terms of understanding the risk into what kind of corporates they are getting into, and those credit risk models in terms of where could be the potential default, where could be those kind of things we kind of build for the treasury. Moving forward, from a target segment perspective, we see that there is a lot of synergies between the two products, because assets and liabilities, no matter how we see, we can never keep them as two sides, that assets and liabilities are two different things. They are two sides of the same coin, right? So when we say that, okay, NBFC X is our customer, that NBFC X is basically, they have the liability side, which is trying to raise money either from the banks directly on the balance sheet, or trying to raise money through the capital markets, through NCDs, commercial papers, etc. Or they're trying to raise money through co-lending. So first is the liability that comes into the balance sheet where they have access to capital, and then the asset side get built when they distribute the capital. So they are actually, joined at back to back. And I think once we have this, the kind of the two product strategy, it actually works beautifully. And most of the times people ask ourselves only, right? Because they have a big problem into their treasury. On one hand, they have to manage the cash outflows on the liabilities. The other side, they have to manage the cash inflows on the assets. Again, all of those pieces come into play, whether, how to manage the cash flows, etc. And probably the third reason to that, what I would want to add is, like, in an enterprise space, typically when you have the same customer, and no matter what, you still have, the handful of logos. You're probably working with 300, 500 large institutions in the country, right? So if it is a more of an SMB, kind of a SaaS play where, you're more of like maybe a Dropbox or Zoom, then you would be having like one specific thing, and you would be working across all the segments, and you have a single product. But into an enterprise where your segment is known and defined, that these are my 300, 500 customers, you would want to build a stack which is complementary to each other, and where you have the one as an entry point, and then you have a natural upselling opportunities, because you would have the dedicated account managers. You would probably 50 account managers who can manage 300 accounts, and those are talking to them on a weekly basis, and they're trying to understand, build that intelligence, that what is happening at the institution, what are the customer pain points, and what is specific thing that we have which we can upsell.